Jeff asks, you've been called the American Tolkien. How do you feel that that's a fair comparison?
I'm feeling a strange sense of deja vu.
Yeah, I wonder if it's the same guy we just talked to.
I'm very flattered to be called the American Tolkien. It's the greatest compliment you can give any fantasy writer. Tolkien essentially created modern fantasy. Fantasy, of course, had existed before Tolkien. It goes all the way back to, Gilgamesh and Homer. But modern fantasy, in the shape that we're familiar with it on the newsstands today, is all following in the footsteps of Tolkien. That being said, I'm a very different writer than Tolkien. We're products of very different times. He was born in the 19th century, a product of English society at a particular point in time. He served and fought in the trenches of World War I. He was a world-class linguist, an Oxford Don of academic persuasion. He wrote his books largely, I think, for his own amusement and the amusement of his children, working out some particular passions of his, like creating artificial languages. I share none of that. I mean, I'm a baby boomer, born in 1948. I come from a blue-collar background in Bayonne, New Jersey, lived in federal housing projects, was involved in the opposition to the Vietnam War, and have largely told stories and written as a professional writer for most of my adult life. I have great admiration for Tolkien, but my work is in no sense Tolkien-esque, except in the sense of being a secondary world fantasy. But I'm still flattered by the comparison. I mean, I'm being compared to one of the greatest that ever was, and who could object to that? Mm-hmm.
How did you come up with the idea? This person, Amanda, wants to know why you decided to use different perspectives, character perspectives, from chapter to chapter. What made you make that decision?
Well, I have a very big story to tell. It's an epic story. It takes place over several continents in a relatively long period of time, and it involves complex politics and war and other things like that. So there's no one possible single character that could possibly tell the entire story. He'd be experiencing part of it, but the rest of it would be occurring on a different continent or on a different half of Westeros. He'd be just hearing about it in a letter or a report. So obviously you need more than a single viewpoint character. Now the other way to go would be omniscient viewpoint, where I'm just God and I'm looking down at the players. But omniscient viewpoint, I've never liked that as a reader. We don't experience, none of us are God. When we experience life, we see it through a particular viewpoint. You know, I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. We're not above looking down on the two of us here. You don't see, if someone was sneaking up behind you with a knife, you wouldn't necessarily see that person, but I might. So it makes a huge difference in whose viewpoint we tell that particular incident from. That's the way we experience life. That's the way we should experience fiction, I believe. So therefore, given the size of the story and my belief about third-person viewpoint being the way to do it, a series of third-person viewpoints so you can present all sides of a large canvas was the logical way to go.
All right.